Good day, class, and welcome to another lesson in 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world. Today's topic is all about literary theories. This lesson will help you to explain the different theoretical approaches in studying literature, recognize the elements, themes, ideas of a literary piece that correspond to the literary theories, and write or record a literary analysis using the different theories. Let us formally begin our lesson by simply defining what a literary theory is. When we say literary theory, it is a body or a collection of ideas and methods or techniques used in the practical reading of literature. It is also a set of rules that become guiding principles for understanding the said literature. On the other hand, we have literary criticism. When we interpret a literary text, we are doing literary criticism. Literary criticism is less about negative commentary and more of an art form. And this study of literature requires knowledge of context as well as of texts. Let us distinguish literary criticism to literary theory. What's the difference between the two? When we say literary criticism, from the word itself, criticism, so you must be able to provide feedback, your comment, your analysis about what you have read from the given text. So that's what we call lit-crit or literary criticism. On the other hand, when we say literary theory, we examine the given text using the criteria or the given approach needed to be applied, which our interpretation rests. And today's lesson, we're going to discuss 5 theories that you can employ whenever you assess or you analyze certain texts, certain art of literature. The first one is Archetypal Theory. Take a look at these two images. I want you to compare the story of Eve and Pandora. As we all know, these female characters brought catastrophic and disastrous events in their respective stories. Now, when Eve disobeyed God, she ate the forbidden fruit, and then after that, they experienced the consequences. And the other one is Pandora. If you're familiar with the Pandora's box, she's the one who opened the box. Also, she's not allowed, to open that box. However, she did. She opened it. So they both disobeyed the given rule. And then, of course, after that, they experienced consequences because of that certain action that they did. So that's the context of what we call archetypal theory. Let us learn more about the given theory, class. An archetype is any story element that appears again and again in stories from cultures around the world. It symbolizes something that is universal in the human experience, like the concept about hero character, the battle of good and evil, the small town setting. It has something to do as well with the concept of intertextuality, wherein the first literature, let's say, the first literature or the first story is influenced by the other story, or the first story is derived from the older ones. So it has something to do with derivation, but not totally everything. We're a bit idea about the given text and then integrate just another text, influenced by another text, a text within the text. So that's what we call archetypal or archetype. Yeah. Another example is if I'm going to ask you what's the archetype between Jesus and Superman, the answer is they were both sent to earth and they were both sent to earth, died and resurrected, and they were saviors. No, they were both saviors. That's the archetype between Jesus and Superman. Another example is the archetype of creation. So here we have Genesis of the Bible, of course, from the Bible story, biblical form. But in the other context, we do have the creation of women, specifically Amazons, no, in Greek mythology. So there's always a derivation, like influence, a text influenced by another text. That's what we call archetypal theory. In order for you to elaborate more your criticism about the given text using the said theory, these are the guide questions that will enable you to elaborate your paper. First question we have, how does this story resemble other stories in plot, character, setting, or symbolism? Nagre-reflect ba? You need to check that one. That's the reason why you must read everything about the text in order for you to assess or give your total impression about it. Another question is, what universal experiences are depicted or showed? So you need to point it out within your paper. Third question, is there a Christ-like figure in the work? How do myths attempt to explain the unexplainable, origin of man, purpose, and destiny of human beings? And lastly, does the writer hint at biblical or mythological literature? And of course, you must be able to determine the purpose of the story. And remember, no, to check kung saan to nagmula. Is it from, the hint or the clue, from biblical or mythological literature? Now, what is the purpose of the said theory, archetypal theory? The writers use these literary archetypes because they speak to common human experience. Like, of course, you need to point out what is their common ground, if there is. There should be a common ground or common human experiences. We are talking about archetypes or archetypal theory. Moreover, they create a sense of familiarity, allowing an audience member to easily comprehend an event or character. That sums up the first theory. Once again, archetypal theory. You need to point out common experience or common human experience within the given text. And everything will follow. Just use the guide questions given, then elaborate it as clear as you can. The second literary theory that we have here is what we have Marxist Theory or Marxist Theory. I have here two images that perhaps you're familiar with. It talks about powerful versus powerless. So that's the concept of Marxist theory. Perhaps you have an idea already. We tackled last time the different conflicts, the different types, five basic types of conflict. And I know na somehow you can identify based from the picture given here, what's the conflict. So that's the specialty of Marxist theory. Let us learn more about this approach. Marxist criticism or theory is based on the social and economic theories of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. They believe that the middle class exploits the working class. Most institutions, religious, legal, educational, and governmental, are corrupted by middle class capitalists. And it truly affects the given, let's say, the whole event in the story. Like, may huge impact siya sa kabuuan ng story. Because it has something to do with social concern, the economic concerns. And of course, pasok din dito class yung social class or social classes that we have sa society. And definitely, yun yung i-highlight in Marxist theory. In addition, class, this criticism is interested in explaining how a literary work reflects, intentionally or not, the socio-economic conditions and the class struggle in a society. This identifies and critiques elements of exploitation, alienation, and other signs of oppression in the story. So the following three words, the three words na mentioned, exploitation, alienation, and oppression, lahat yun ay negative, like negative words na talagang nakakapigil, no, sa equal rights ng bawat characters, let's say, per se sa story, no? If we're going back to the previous images earlier, the one that is familiar to all of us, the Hunger Games, as we all know, there is really a problem, specifically sa government, because the only person affected, no, by this competition / buhay ang nakataya, only the poorest people or the poor people. The upper class, no, they are the ones na very happy about this. They consider this as a feast or a celebration, a Thanksgiving, whatever, no? But sa kabilang banda, there is really a huge effect, negative effect, lalo na dun sa mga mahihirap, mga walang boses. Kasi they just need to obey. Kasi part yun ng kanilang, doon sa story, based sa story, naging bahagi na yun ng kanilang nakaugalian. Bahagi na ng gobyerno o kalakaran na, no? In addition to this, we have here the word alienation. It is about when workers are separated from the fruits of their labor and from others. And there are lots of Egyptian literature, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. African as well, no? Afro-Asian literature, wherein ganito yung common theme, na it has something to do with alienation, no? Inequality talagang walang fairness, no? Imbis na we must, or the persons, the other characters, must give credits because of the hard work na ipinakita ng ibang mga character, but they did not. Instead, na-separate pa sila. So that's it. Very crucial yung part na ito, class, because it has something to do with inequality and oppression, of course, alienation. Now, let's have the following guide questions that will enable you to elaborate your paper kung gagamitin nyo tong theory na ito, class. So, the first one is, who are the powerful people in the society depicted in the text? And who are the powerless? Hindi sasapat na you know only the powerful people, and then pinabayaan mo na yung powerless. So, as a reader, you must be able to grasp, determine who are the powerful and who are the powerless people, so that you can scrutinize, na dig deeper, your feedback, your analysis about the text. The second question is, are the two groups depicted with equal attention? Of course, you need to find out that part so that you can relate talaga the given theory. Number 3, why do the powerful people have their power? Why is this power denied to others? Saan ba nagmula yung powers nila? So, you must be able to know that one. And then, bakit ito ipinagkakait sa iba pang mga kasama sa kwento, let's say, sa isang literary piece. Next, how do characters overcome oppression? How? So, you need to put the details, to indicate the details. How do the following characters overcome oppression? And lastly, does the work propose some form of solution to the problems encountered in the work? You need to explain that part. So, very important detail in your analysis paper or your literary analysis. So that sums up the literary theory about Marxist criticism or Marxist theory na coined by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. The third theory is all about biographical theory. I have here a question, solely a question. What Taylor Swift song is about one of her boyfriends before? You can simply comment down your answer below or using the comment box. Just type it out. I know na kahit paano, you know something about Taylor Swift songs na perhaps you can comment some. Okay, so I have here another example, class. In order for us to dig deeper on what biographical theory is. A while ago, I have mentioned about the songs created or composed by Taylor Swift. The most of her songs, she admitted naman one of her interviews na yun ay based sa kanyang past relationship, or kanyang past experience, So that's the context of a biographical theory. But before I go on with its definition, let's have another example, class. This one is Before Sunrise, 1995 by Richard Linklater. The story is all about Jesse and Celine. The story was inspired by an evening that the author himself, Richard Linklater, spent with a young woman whom he met. So he used that experience, to come up with this story, to complete this story, Before Sunrise. Based from the two examples given, we can say that for biographical critics, the one who critiques, a literary work is a reflection of the author's life. Biographical criticism examines the effect and influence of the writer's life on his or her work. Most of the writers, they tend to integrate some of their experiences as part ng kakaharapin ni character or ng iba pang mga supporting characters. So, yun. Inspired, hango sa kanyang mga karanasan. Understanding the writer's life and influences helps the reader as well to discover the author's intended meaning. That's the significance of biographical theory. Always remember as well, class, that an author is influenced by his past when he writes. Perhaps may mga kakilala kayong authors or na-encounter na authors wherein nagre-reflect talaga sa kanyang experiences ang mga nagawa niyang, let's say, stories, poems, songs, and so on. Even gender, race, and socioeconomic status also have a huge impact on his writing. Take note as well, class, that biographical criticism is not an attempt to draw parallels between the author's life. To give you more examples, class, I have here first the short story written by Edgar Allan Poe in the year 1846 entitled The Cask of Amontillado. This story is all about Fortunato, the main character, and yeah, yun yung pinaka-image na, class. Fortunato is obsessed by the opportunity to get drunk. This revealed how alcohol and drugs can turn a person into a beast that cannot control one's thought and deeds. So that's Fortunato. And definitely we can reflect, no? Etong kanyang naging habit ng character, si Fortunato, no? Yung habit niya sa author na gumawa nitong story na ito. So here we have Edgar Allan Poe. One can assume that Fortunato embodies Edgar Allan Poe, whose life was limited by chains of tuberculosis and finally destroyed by alcohol. Diba? Kita nyo, class, yung connection between the author and the character, or let's say the literary piece itself, nagre-reflect, sumasalamin. Kasi some parts of it hango sa kanyang buhay, sa kanyang napagdaanan. Another literary piece that we can employ biographical theory is none other than the poem Annabel Lee. So this is just an excerpt. If you want to read the whole composition of the poem, so you can check it in your own. But this one is only an excerpt. Same author. This one is written by Edgar Allan Poe. I was a child. It says here that I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love. I and my Annabel Lee. So that was the poem. The tone is a bit sad, gloomy, right? So this one, very serious, very, very sad, full of agony. Or this one is created by Edgar Allan Poe. So what's the inspiration of Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe? Annabel Lee reveals his mad obsessive love to his wife, Virginia Clem. Today's morality, we wouldn't accept this marriage kasi they were cousins during that time, and then they were able to proceed dun sa kasal even though they were cousins. Now, that was when he was 26, and then Virginia was only 13 years old. So very young pa, si Virginia during that time. So I want you to check not the author, but yeah, you can still check Edgar Allan Poe, for more details. But I want you to check the poem Annabel Lee because it's very beautiful. It's a very beautiful poem that could move, you because of the mood, because of the tone of the writer. So that's it. This one is based from, the poem is definitely based from his experience. To sum up biographical theory, these are the questions that you can use in elaborating your criticism. The first question is, what aspects of the author's personal life are relevant to this story? Of course, there should be relevance between the author and the literary piece itself, or the character. Specifically, the main character. Most of the time, yun dun sumasalamin yung experience ni author dun sa main character. Just like Dr. Jose Rizal. Though we often mention his novels, No Limitang Her and El Filibusterismo, wherein, I don't know if you're aware about this one, na merong character talagang kumakatawan kay Rizal or sumasalamino sa katayuan ni Rizal. And that is none other than Inole Mitangere, that's Crisostomo Ibarra. Ano? If we're going to check their relativity, their interrelatedness with one another, they're both educated person, may pinaglalaban, mayroong ipinaglalaban, and mahusay sa iba't ibang larangan, and so on. So, merong nagre-reflect. Even the other characters, nagre-reflect yun sa iba pang mga tauhan sa buhay naman ni Rizal, no? So, that's it. The second question is, which of the author's stated beliefs are reflected in the work? So, you need to find out that one because imposible kung hindi, no? What seem to be the author's major concerns? Do they reflect any of the writer's personal experiences? If yes, if there is, then you need to indicate that one. Do any of the events in the story correspond to events experienced by the author? And lastly, do any of the characters in the story correspond to real people? Okay? May counterpart yung iba doon, no? Just like nga, sa No Limitang Here, like Maria Clara, she embodies the character or the persona of the lover of Rizal, Dr. Rizal. Diba? And many more. You just need to really understand and grasp the given events to find out the relativity. Let us have the number 4 theory. This is none other than feminist or gender theory. Take a look at the following pictures and then try to figure out what you have noticed. That's correct, no? Perhaps you were able to comment your answer already. So here, as you will notice, we have two female characters from one of the famous, let's say, movie of all times. Movies of all times. Now we have Maleficent, the character Maleficent, and the other one is, I don't know, if I'm not mistaken, this is Wonder Woman. That's right. So this has something to do with the concept of a feminist theory. Basically and obviously, it's something to do with femininity. Okay? So let us learn more about the said theory. Always remember, class, that feminist or gender criticism examines how sexual identity influences the creation and reception of literary works. Okay? But if we're going to separate feminists, we have here feminist criticism. It covers almost anything that has to do with female emancipation and empowerment. Just like the previous images that I have presented. So we can simply come up with, a criticism using this said theory, feminist, because it has something to do with women empowerment, female emancipation. It's like the thing about girl power. So that's what feminist criticism is. Take note, class, that unlike feminist criticism, when we see gender criticism, it is divided into two. It includes masculinist approach as well as queer theories. Okay, so the first one is masculinism. It basically deals advocacy of the rights or needs of men and boy. So sa mga kalalakihan naman ito, parang manpower, male emancipation, okay, man empowerment, just like that. On the other hand, we have queer theory. Now, it includes theoretical concepts that center gay and lesbian people. So it has something to do with the third gender preferences. Third gender. Specifically, of course, the community, LGBTQ community. So I bet somehow no, you were able to encounter several stories, movies, ano pa, series, no, palabas, TV drama, wherein ipinapakita yung perspektibo no, ng ikatlong gender preferences that we have, the LGBTQ community, you know? And I have observed as well sa ating book shelfie wherein merong nakapag-share na specifically from a certain section about a text. I forgot lang talaga the title of the book. However, it's an example of, we can employ queer theory dun sa book na iyon, class. Sa book na iyon. Okay? So, always remember that one. That gender criticism includes masculinist approach as well as queer theories. These are the guide questions that you can use. First, does the work challenge traditional ways of viewing sexuality and identity? Second, what stereotypes of women do you find? Are they oversimplified, demeaning, or untrue? Third, how do the male and female characters treat each other? And lastly, what gender are the socially and politically powerful characters? The way back then, more on syempre kapag political, political power yung pinag-uusapan, commonly, mag-fall lang to under men, no, male. But nowadays, no, buti na lang talaga, no, when there's this president who signed yung karapatan ng mga kababaihan to vote, that was the initial hakbang or like step in order for women, no, to voice, to speak out, to speak up or speak out, no, what I want to express, and of course have that opportunity to be part na kung saan gagawa ng isang malaking hakbang, and at the same time napakahalaga ang nagawang decision itong mga women, most especially sa pagboto, no, because way back then women were not allowed, we are not allowed, no, to vote, to cast our votes. Buti na lang, no, na-signed yung kasulatan, no, about allowing women to step up to vote. And marami tayong kakayahan. Women have a lot of skills na kagaya din ng men or ng mga kalalakihan, no, ay ni-offer, no, kaya din ng mga kababaihan. So, it has something to do with equality rather. Equality, na acceptance, inclusivity. So, that's it. Other questions are, is the form and content of the work influenced by the reader's gender? Naka-apekto ba ang kanyang gender sa kabuuan ng kanyang literary piece? If a female character were male, how would the story be different? So, parang kung ilalagay ang sitwasyon, no, wherein the character this time ay female instead of male, gagawin niya ba yung same approach in order to conquer the given, let's say, difficulty or situation, and vice versa? And the last question that you can use is, what constitutes a masculinity and femininity in the story? So you need to figure out that one, then indicate within your paper. Let us have, class, an example. So this one is dumb blondie stereotype from the film 7 Year Itch and White Chicks. So I want you to react when women explain and react. You can use our comment box below. When women are just being portrayed as dumb blondies and eye candies. Blandina, parang ganyan class, no? Blonde yung kanyang, may stereotyping na about this one. Most of my students, when we had our synchronous, no, they said na madalas mean girls sila. Very palaban yung aura, no, strong yung aura. Sila yung madalas, kung hindi antagonist, no, taga-suporta ng antagonist or like supporting character ng antagonist and so on. Nasa stereotype class, yung part na ito, no. According to Ralph Waldo Emerson, quote-unquote, now it's the good reader that makes the good book. Actually, Ralph is an American essayist, poet, and philosopher. Now, this quote or this statement given by Ralph Waldo, no, it's very powerful, and I do agree that the good reader, no, it's the good reader that makes the good book. There are people, or there, let's say, as individuals, no, claiming that this book is not good, no, it doesn't give yung pinaka-ini-expect. However, let us always remind ourselves, no, na before you judge, or before you give your final impression about the book, make sure na you were able to read the whole text, that you were able as well to determine, grasp the purpose of the author before telling or before admitting na it's not a good book, and so on. We cannot give judgment without considering the book or without considering the given text, the given message. So let's be fair, no? Wag natin basta i-conclude na ito hindi to magandang book. The first question is that, were you able to finish it? Were you able to grasp the message? If it wasn't, then I think may kulang, no, sa part mo bilang reader. So you need to consider all angles, no, before giving your final impression. That's it. That explanation has something to do with the concept of reader response theory. According to Ralph Waldo Emerson, quote-unquote, now it's the good reader that makes the good book. Actually, Ralph is an American essayist, poet, and philosopher. Now, this quote or this statement given by Ralph Waldo, no, it's very powerful, and I do agree that the good reader, no, it's the good reader that makes the good book. There are people, or there, let's say, as individuals, no, claiming that this book is not good, no, it doesn't give yung pinaka-ini-expect. However, let us always remind ourselves, no, na before you judge, or before you give your final impression about the book, make sure na you were able to read the whole text, that you were able as well to determine, grasp the purpose of the author before telling or before admitting na it's not a good book, and so on. We cannot give judgment without considering the book or without considering the given text, the given message. So let's be fair, no? Wag natin basta i-conclude na ito hindi to magandang book. The first question is that, were you able to finish it? Were you able to grasp the message? If it's not, then I think may kulang, no, sa part mo bilang reader. So you need to consider all angles, no, before giving your final impression. That's it. That explanation has something to do with the concept of reader response theory. Proponents or believers, or like the person behind the said theory, they believe that literature has no objective meaning or existence. So typically that means na we take, no, we have different takes about different literature that we have. So more on subjective to, but it doesn't mean that it's subjective all throughout. Now, remember, we have still guidelines and guide questions to be used, in order for us to elaborate the given approach. Second, they believe that readers bring their own thoughts, moods, and experiences to whatever text they are reading. You must be able to interlink or connect your experiences, your mood, your thoughts about the given message of the book, even the characters, you must be able to connect with them since we're talking about reader response theory. Kung kanina, earlier, in biographical theory, dapat may connect yung texts, even the characters, the whole text, sa author. Now, here in reader response, ang pinag-uusapan na ay yung reader mismo. And we do have different takes kapag ganito yung ginamit natin because we're talking about reader response theory. Lastly, proponents of this criticism believe that readers actually contribute to the meaning, of course. So, those are the reasons, why they definitely believe with this theory. It plays significant role in developing certain text, in giving judgment, fair judgment. Moreover, class, each reader is unique. I do believe with this statement. I agree with this statement. Wherein, even we are different, in terms of educational attainment, experiences, moral values, opinions, tastes, perspective, etc. Still, ito yung nagbubuklod sa atin in order for us to, effectively give our final summation about the text. So therefore, each reader's interaction with a work is definitely unique. Now, if you will read the same text in a different occasions, would you produce the same meaning? That's the question, And feel free to comment your answer below. Let me present the following questions that will help you to elaborate better your criticism using this theory. First is, what did the author intend for you to feel while reading the work and how? Of course, it has something to do with what you have felt. What you have felt. Another one is, do the events fall into a pattern you have met before? So you must be able to look back, not to distinguish, but to determine several, let's say, instances na talagang nagre-reflect dun sa pattern ng nasabing istorya. Kumbaga, maire-relate mo ba? Or may maire-relate ka bang event sa buhay mo sa napagdaanan ng character? Another question is, did the work fit your picture of the way life is? What memories does this work recall for you? Consider how you might have acted had you been one of the characters. And lastly, what else would you like to know about the characters or events? These are just a few questions that you can use in elaborating your criticism using this theory. You can also still learn a lot about this in your own. You can simply, of course, look for other infos, the relevant ones. Okay, so that sums up our lesson for this afternoon or morning o kung anong oras nyo man ito pinapanood, class. Just to sum up everything, we discussed common literary theories. Actually, class, ito lang yung highlight, only 5 theories, but if we're going to search or learn more about this said concept, you will discover na napakadami palang theory, no? Aside from archetypal, Marxist, biographical, feminist or gender, and of course, reader response theory. Now, class, what is the purpose of literary theories? What's the significance of the said concept, literary theories, in literature? No? Remember that reading a text through the lens of literary theory, kasi it helps us to appreciate the other spectrum of literary piece. Now, it provides a new perspective to better understand literature. Here, class, no, hindi na tayo basta-basta lang nagbabasa. Hindi lang tayo basta nalalaman natin kung ano yung naramdaman natin before, during, and after reading that piece. So, here, binibigyan tayo, it enables us to learn more. It enables us to widen our perspective about the given literature and yung meaning niya beyond. And at the same time, we will be able to learn more about the not only the characters, but also the author. Second is to learn more about different authors' intentions. We learned already, class, the different purposes why we write or we speak. So moreover, of course, we can integrate that one here in order for us to effectively determine author's intentions. Ano nga ba yung purpose niya? Reason, no? Bakit niya ito naisulat? And lastly, to generally improve the quality of literature for both authors and readers. As we give our interpretation, as we give our criticism, no, don't worry, because this one, they will take this as constructive criticism, no. It will enable or it will help other authors to improve their works. And of course, we will learn a lot from them, and vice versa. To formally end our discussion, always remember this quote from Celeste Ng. The story is truly finished and meaning is made, not when the author adds the last period, but when the reader enters. For your group task activity, I will give you 10 minutes for this. You must cooperate, and you should cooperate with your group mates. You can connect with them via Messenger or via Google Meet. In this activity, for each of the 5 literary theories that I will flash later, you must be able to think one of the suitable literary title. Again, one suitable literary title that can be analyzed. It can be a film or a series. It can be a film or a series, or pwede din dito iba't ibang literary pieces. Poems, pwede din, no? Poems, stories, and so on. Again, class, do not repeat the titles presented today. Do not repeat the examples that I mentioned already. So just think of the other. I believe madami pang pwede nating ma-connect with this one. So please do think, no, about the other suitable literary title that can be analyzed. And of course, this one is a consideration, no? We need to consider in reader response theory, you can provide any title of English poem or song. But if you want other, like, you want literary piece for this one, like prose poetry and other form of literature, then you can. After all, this one, malaya naman tayo in reader response, no? And of course, only one house member, specifically the leader, will submit the answers of your group via Padlet. I will give the link, and then you can access, the group members can access, however, only the leaders will post their final output. Okay? So class, here is the format. Example, I want you to think one title sa bawat theory. One title for Archetypal Theory, Marxist, Biographical, Feminist or Gender Theory, and reader-response theory. Sikapin na walang kaparehas sa mga naunang nag-submit. Okay? As much as possible, no? Iwasan na mayroong kaparehas sa mga naunang mag-submit. Because you will see, kapag ka-in-access niyo yung Padlet, you will see yung sagot ng ibang mga group from other sections or strand. So, please, do avoid, no, na meron kayong kaparehas. As much as possible, to think of the other titles. Okay? So, that's it. And of course, do not forget to indicate your house, your section, and your members. For your performance task, details will be posted via Google Classroom, and please be ready because this Friday I will post the Google Form link, just like what I have said last time. What I told you last time, no, na today or this week natin ibibigay yung quiz na supposedly last time ko binigay. So, combination to class yung quiz sa darating na Friday, combination siya ng lecture natin last week about literary devices and then this lesson, literary approaches. Okay? So, please be ready, get ready. And of course, I would like as well to remind everyone na your summative examination will be, I think, next week na. So, the other details for the summative examination, I think, will be mentioned or announced by your advisor. So, please stay tuned about the details. So, for now, what I want you to accomplish is your group test activity. Please do cooperate with your group mates. And, of course, if you weren't able to submit the previous activities assigned, no, please do accomplish it. And that's it. Please do accomplish. Okay? So once and for all, thank you so much for considering this video. I hope next time makapag-meet na tayo, class. So that's it. Thank you so much for considering once again the video. Please stay safe and good luck sa inyong examination. Bye-bye.